Salute!
Closed.
Now that's the way to start a show. Okay, Artie, come on, shoot off your mouth. Let's go.
Welcome, everybody, to the show. With me is my very special co-host, Dan Pancaldi, Dancing Dan, the Dancing Man. Joining us this evening is designer extraordinaire, Herman Lutman.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Herman.
Herman, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, look at this ID Jesters here. Kurt, we were talking about how much of a miserable wretch you were or are, but that regardless.
Right. Well, of course he is. He's from Ohio.
That's right. Originally he is. Yep.
So Herman,
he's probably preparing for Gaming with Herm on Thursday night at 7 o'clock.
Yeah. So Herman,
what is everybody drinking tonight? I am actually drinking this after my horrific cocktail experience last evening. Plantation artisanal dark rum, which is very good.
Well, I was going to say, we're going to make this feel like counter clipping a little bit. I can't hold up my bourbon, but so I got Bell Mead bourbon out of Nashville.
I've heard of it.
Yes. Done by the Nelson Greenbrier Distilling Company, and it's quite good.
And I'm drinking Buffalo Trace.
That's pretty good.
That's really good. That is a rare commodity in Tennessee. People line up at the liquor store when they hear that it just, I don't know, it doesn't show up here very often. It's only $25 a bottle.
They've had availability problems for the last couple of years with the whiskey boom and then COVID and all that stuff. So
yeah, but people love it down here. So when it shows up, it is gone in a flash.
Look, ID Jester is asking, am I still whining about my hand? Look, I have.
that was the episode.
And if would you like me to remove the Band-Aid and show it to you?
All right. We're on your channel, so if we get demonetized, it's okay.
You know, I mean, it looks like a girl I once dated. That's you know.
I mean, you got it covered with a Band-Aid.
No, that's kind of disgusting.
I'm repulsed.
You're right. It's much worse than Jester's situation.
Hey, yeah, what's the matter with that guy? A whiner.
You know, sometimes you just have a tragic fisting accident and you have to have surgery to repair the damage.
Oh.
Hey, he calls.
We got at least 2 weeks of mileage out of that joke.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we're not gonna talk about coke and horrors.
We can talk about whatever you want, Dan. Go ahead.
Because because it's my channel. You don't give a crap if I'm demonetized. I'm not even monetized. So what the hell am I doing?
There you go.
Wait, are we technically on your channel or
we are on Dan's channel this week?
All right, we're on Dan's channel.
Yeah, that's why Artie's all loosey goosey, man.
And I'm not wearing any pants.
So Herman, let me ask the first question.
Sure. Yes.
It's a really good question.
I know. I'm really thinking hard about this one.
The most fearful sacrifice?
No. The game on P500, the zombie game. Because I have the old title in my head.
Dawn of the Zeds?
No, man, it's on GMT. There.
The Plum Island Horror.
What the hell are they waiting for?
They're not. Well, they're not waiting. Look, as you know, GMT's pretty backed up with P500 stuff.
Just a little bit. Backed up tighter than my colon.
oh dear. Oh dear.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, we all I think realize that, you know, there's a bit of a production bottleneck there due to a variety of factors, many of which are not internal to GMT.
Right, and in the case of Plum Island Horror, they have so many things on P500. They kind of wait. I guess this is unofficial, but they kind of wait if something hits 1,000, which Plum Island Horror is up to 1,030.
1,002 or something, man.
It's up into 1,037 now. So as soon as it hits that number, it kind of gets bumped up a little bit. So we went into the art department. You can imagine how busy the art department is, right? I mean, I don't know, Artie, how many official artists they have at GMT, but I mean, what, 3?
Well, it's not just Mark Simonich anymore, so that's good.
Yes, Terry Leeds is there, who's awesome. He's the one that's working on the Plum Island Horror. He actually did my At Any Cost game. He did the map for that and the pieces for that, and that came out great.
I have never seen a Terry Leeds map that was anything less than spectacular.
Yeah, I totally agree. This is obviously going to be a bit different for him, right? Because you're talking about it's not point to point. It's box to box type of map. It's not a war game map. So it'll be something different. I mean, the artwork's not going to be divisions and cores and all that. It's going to be people and citizens and monsters and things like that. So quite interesting. I'm sure he's going to like the break.
So, but Herman, what mechanics did you steal from your other games that you put in
From my other games? None.
You didn't steal any mechanics from your other games to incorporate into the Something Island horror, for God's sake.
No, it's
Plum Island horror.
It's basically a culmination of a lot of other games that I played that I enjoyed. So, for example, there is what they call a follow mechanic in there from Tiny Epic Galaxies. I played that and I said, wow, this follow mechanic's really cool. I'm going to try to use something like this. And the idea of that is it keeps all the players involved constantly. So if I'm taking my turn and I'm done, you can go around the table and other players can follow, right? They can do something. In my game, if a player follows and does an action, they also have to pull a card to find out if they've created a bad event. So there's a kind of a push your luck element to it as well. So as people go around a table, you're trying to convince them maybe not to go because the chance of them creating something bad happening increases as you go around the table. I got search cards and story cards that are via like Arkham Horror, Eldritch Horror, that kind of thing. I got an exploding die that I used that I played when I was playing Descent. I said, oh my God, this exploding die is so much fun. I got to use that. So it's a lot of different mechanics that from other games that I enjoy that I try to incorporate.
And have you thought of expansions already, or is this too soon?
I've thought of an expansion. Yeah. I mean, if it does well and GMT wants me to, I have a couple of thoughts. Yeah.
Well, it's got 1,000+ pre-orders already, so it's already doing okay.
God's sake, man.
And it isn't even out yet. It's just hit the art department.
And I suspect, and well, this might be hopeful expectations, but when the art starts coming out and people see that it's a fun, tongue-in-cheek adventure, it's a cooperative game, and that's something a little different, you know, for GMT is this idea of a cooperative game where we're all playing together against a common enemy, asymmetrical factions, all that kind of thing. So I think if they do the art right, which I'm sure they will, thank you, Kirk. I think once they see the artwork, they'll say, "Ah, I see what's going on here." I mean, I'm sure they're a little leery now. I mean, it's not a typical GMT game, obviously.
Hey, is this for real, man? Paper impacting more game releases?
He's talking about the paper shortage. I mean, this kind of thing happens, you know, every so often anyway. It's, I'm sure, complicating the logistics chains of things, and certainly prices are being impacted, probably less so at GMT than elsewhere, because GMT has an economy of scale that they can take advantage of that really nobody else in the wargaming space can. They print probably twice as much. I've got some insider info on how much who prints what, and GMT's printing at least 2 or 3 times as many copies of a given war game as anybody else.
Is Stigler just wanting to bust my balls here, or is he actually? Is this conspiracy true here?
So I do think GMT changed the paper stock. I don't know that they're saving paper by doing that, but I did notice that they changed their paper stock. That is a thing. So, but I mean, there's other companies that made their paper thicker. So I don't know what that means, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, all these companies deal with different problems and handle.
Dan, get Tony Curtis on. He's the guy from GMT. Different Tony Curtis.
I just wrote to Gene Billingsley with an idea of this and this and that, and I said, "You're gonna make so much cash with this, you know, this and that." He never wrote back. I wonder why.
Gene's a busy guy.
What kind of ideas were you pitching to him?
I pitched it to you too about a Bersalieri in the desert, and the aliens are coming down, and
wait a minute.
You know, ice monsters and stuff like that.
Wait, so you're pitching these ideas all over the industry?
I gotta catch a fish.
Hoping somebody.
Jesus is this crazy guy again.
He never answered back.
Block.
For God's sake. Herman, what's on the table, man?
Well, let's ask this question first,
All right.
actually. So, most Fearful Sacrifice getting a second printing, is that's like imminent or what?
Imminent, perhaps. This month, I would say.
That's pretty imminent.
Bloody hell!
That's fairly imminent. Yeah. So I went over the rules. We fixed whatever errata there was. I did a clarification. I mean, I don't like to call it an FAQ because if you do an FAQ, you gotta write out the question and then you gotta write out the answer to the question. So these are just clarifications of questions that people have asked me. That's going to be included in there. Obviously, for all those of you who are worried, the charts and tables will be 11 by 17, so there'll be nice big charts and tables. And I think Mark plans on kickstarting it. Well, I'll say this month. Let's say by the end of the month. That's the
Bloody
plan.
hell, that's quick.
That is quick.
That's quick, man.
It's very fast turnaround. Then again, it's selling out was pretty quick too. So
yeah,
that would motivate me to get off my ass and get that #2 Kickstarter going.
Yeah. Well, Mark, yeah, his plan is to do it. A lot of things get in the way of that, but thank you, Stigler. I appreciate it.
And how's he doing, Mark?
Oh, Mark's doing well. I was just there this weekend.
Okay.
So last year, over a year ago, nobody was getting together because of the thing. All right. And we all were vaccinated and we just said, the hell with this. Let's just get together and play some games for a weekend. And we started doing that. But now we do it every 3 or 4 months. So I drive up to Virginia. He's in the backwoods of Virginia there. And he cooks hot dogs and hamburgers. We drink scotch by the pool, smoke cigars, and play games. I mean,
this sounds amazing.
I like that.
Right? So our only rule that we both agreed upon is we don't play our own games.
And were there
we mix war games with everything else. I mean, if I read to you we played like 9 different games this past one. They went everything from Euro games to war games to card games to Ameritrash, everything.
I didn't want to.
Dan, sing the song, Dan. And next week you have to paint yourself orange.
I
don't know what's funny, Herman. Herman, that ain't funny.
It's funny. That's funny.
Name some games you played, man. I'm curious.
Oh, you want? All right, I'll tell you what we played.
Come on.
Right.
Examples. We don't need a comprehensive list, but I'm curious too.
Oh my God, what happened to my list?
Off the top.
We played. I know we played Quartermaster General 1914 twice.
Seriously?
How many players is that?
I love that game.
Really?
I think that's one of the best war games ever designed. I really do.
Are you talking about specifically the 1914 one, or just the
I played the
system in general?
Actually, I played the World War II version in Origins with David Thompson and his friends, and we had a great time with that one. But 1914, I specifically like. There's a couple new mechanics in there, and one of them is this prepare mechanic where the cards. I don't know have you played Quartermaster General at all?
No, I have. It's
Okay.
very good. I played the World War II one.
Okay,
Really?
so on the bottom of the cards, the cards that you play, there are some symbols, and there's a new step called prepare where you can take the card instead of using it for its written event, you can use it for the symbols on it. You put it face down in front of you, and you can pile these up. And what they do is, if somebody attacks you, you can play a prepared defense, which is a shield, to represent entrenching, then they can play a prepared arrow, which is a continuation of the attack, and you can play another shield. So you're building up offense and defense on your in your side of the board, in addition to playing the cards for their event. So it's really intriguing.
This is how you get the Somme with 1 million people dead.
There's Cody. Cody just did a
Mr. Cody, the discriminating gamer. Welcome to the stream.
Yep.
And Herman, it's obviously an easy game to pick up, right?
It's pretty easy, yeah.
It's easy, but a lot of war gamers have trouble with it at the beginning because there's no dice rolling, there's no advance after combat. So if you successfully attack an adjacent region, you don't automatically move in there and take it over. You have to then play on your next turn a build army card and build an army in the now empty area. So it's something that it takes a little getting used to doing that, but it's a great system.
And it's not shit heavy, eh?
No, there's no chits. In fact,
It's like, I mean, the board is not full of little models and all that. It's just
there's like nothing on the board.
Seriously, eh?
It's like Risk, except it sucks a lot less.
Yeah. So we played that a couple times. We played Fortune and Glory, was it Flying Frog game? Oh my God, what else did we play? I played Napoleon. I showed them how to play Napoleon Returns 1815 by Worthington. We played a dice game called Istanbul. We played Flux. We played The Mind. You should play The Mind with some of your friends after a couple of bourbons. That's quite fun.
I actually have played it. That's not my thing. It's not my thing.
Which one? The Mind?
Yeah.
It's a nice study in group dynamics for sure. You want to play the Stigler. Yeah, my shirt is the Pickett shirt that says, "Sorry, you want me to do what now?"
See, I'm an antisocial troll and don't get into games that require me to socialize, except to boast and trash talk. So,
Herman, what about XX games? Do you play those?
The train game?
18XX?
No, I don't. I don't know. I got nothing against them. The trains just don't interest me that much.
What the hell?
That was an accident, but an accident. So I want to ask about Blind Swords and its evolution. First of all, where that's at right now, as far as what's in the pipeline, because I want those things, and its evolution then into A Most Fearful Sacrifice and into the new iteration, which is called Shattered Union.
Yes, that's a new series coming out. That game's actually the Hill of Death, which is the Battle of Champion Hill, should be out this month. Actually, we were just discussing that today.
And not a lot of games on Champion Hill in general.
Well, and that's the specific drive behind the Shattered Union series is not only to make smaller box, more accessible, smaller footprint ACW games. But I told Mark, because he asked me to do something for Tiny Battle like that, and I said, well, okay, but we're not going to do Shiloh, Antietam, Gettysburg. We're not going to do. We're going to find battles that have been underrepresented, more obscure battles, that kind of thing. Yes, you don't want to watch me play Elder Sign. That's for damn sure. We came up with this nice, and it's not just me. It's also Claude Whalen's going to do some designs. He also does some Blind Swords, and he's one of my head developers. And Dale Gutt's going to do a game. He's the designer of In the Name of Justice by White Dog Games. And the idea is to make these small, accessible games and do some more obscure, underrepresented battles. So Champion Hill, I think there's only one other game on Champion Hill, I believe.
Just the one from the Gamers, as far as I'm aware.
I think there's only one. The one after that's going to be Cross Keys, Port Republic. So it's going to be both battles. And the Claude's going to do that. Then I'm going to do Fredericksburg with some what ifs.
Well, you'd need them.
Yep.
What if Burnside wasn't a doorknob today?
Or what if they got the pontoons there on time, right? And then the fourth game is so the fourth game was originally going to be Brandy Station, done by Dale, but Dale had some personal stuff come up, so we had to push that to the next batch. And instead, Claude's actually going to do what was going to be a variation for A Most Fearful Sacrifice, but he's going to change the scale and do it for this, and it's going to be called Meade Attacks. It's going to be the fourth day of Gettysburg.
That sounds neat.
So the day after Pickett's charge ended and all that, Meade actually listens to Lincoln and actually counterattacks Robert Lee, trying to destroy the Army of Northern Virginia after Gettysburg. Of course, he's got a race against the rain that's coming.
I think that might be an excellent game system from what I'm hearing for that kind of hypothetical. Because it doesn't require you to play out, this massive game first, right?
Right, exactly. So that's going to be Tiny Battle Publishing.
So what's coming up for what's next for Black Swan then? Is there a next game in the works for that iteration of the system?
It's not in the works yet, but we've agreed on the battle. Well, I'm sure most people who watch this realize how much work goes into these war games. I mean, A Most Fearful Sacrifice was a year of hard work. It's got 13 scenarios, and yeah, I'll get to that. So it's not even just designing the system. It's also then creating these 13 scenarios, which we all agreed. I said, well, Gettysburg is one of those battles that just breaks down into bits and pieces so nicely, right? There's so many iconic struggles that it just divides down. It makes, like I said, 12 great games out of this one situation. But that takes a lot of work. You have to not only design all these, you got to make sure they're balanced. And hey,
Mr. Brandt in the house.
Nice to see you at Origins, by the way.
Yeah, nice to see you, Brandt.
What's that attitude for? Yeah, Revolution's components are really well. I mean, it's great.
I'm delighted with all of those games.
Yep.
So you're being coy now, so you're not going to tell us what battle Black Swan is coming to.
Oh, next. I am. No, I'm sorry. So I was leading up to the fact that it's going to take me a while to do it. Let's put it that way. The only advantage is I don't have to invent the system again. I can just worry about doing the battle and the scenarios. I don't have to, Most Fearful Sacrifice is actually designing the system as well as the battle. So it's going to be Chickamauga.
Yes. Outstanding. Fascinating battle.
It is, and it breaks down into multiple scenarios very nicely. It's a expansive meeting engagement. I live an hour and a half away from the battlefield, so I can go down there. It's just south. For those who don't know, I'm in Tennessee. I'm in Knoxville, so I'm an hour and change away from Chattanooga, and just beneath Chattanooga is the Chickamauga battlefield. So being able to visit the battlefield, for me anyway, does make a big difference. I mean, walking and learning it firsthand is definitely valuable.
Absolutely, man. I wanted to go check out Gettysburg when I was at WBC. It was like
not that far away.
Pennsylvania
is a big state east-west, but it's it's not that far.
Yeah, the old WBC with Lancaster would have been easier.
Yeah, you could probably need to set aside at least one whole day to do that, though. I would want to, and preferably about 3 days. Haha.
And I'm sure I'd get emotional going there, man. It's come on, man.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's you serious?
It's a very well preserved, well designed battlefield as far as the whole immersive atmosphere of that place is done perfectly.
Mo from Mo's Game Table is in the house. Welcome, Mo.
Awesome, Mo. Mo. I have to thank Mo publicly for. So, might as well. This has nothing to do with Most Fearful Sacrifice, but this is my new game out from White Dog called Volters Lead the Way, and Mo helped a lot with that. He did a lot of the editing and proofreading for me. So thank you, Mo.
And it's a sci-fi game.
Yeah, so it's basically in Magnificent Style and Crowbar in space.
That sounds pretty attractive, actually.
Yeah. I can't speak for all war game designers, but to be honest with you, doing other games, horror games, fantasy games, sci-fi games is kind of it's more relaxing.
Palate cleanser.
What's that?
A palate cleanser.
Exactly. Yes, absolutely. It's a palate cleanser. That's a good way to put it. And it lets you just design the game and make it as fun as you can be without worrying about timetables and orders of battle and all that kind of stuff. And it's just so much fun. And then you get into Chickamauga and you get back to the grind, right?
Carl here from the War Game Boot Camp is demanding a larger box for the next game. Carl, that might be an unreasonable request. I'm just saying.
Boy.
Mark's watching right now. He's like, bigger? Oh. It's like a whole shipping container now.
Hey, what the hell is this?
I don't know if that's a thing.
Jester's on a roll tonight.
I don't know if you heard. I have a pizza delivery guy who
I heard this story. Yep.
Is this like that letter you wrote to Penthouse Magazine?
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
It's so easy to.
So
off he goes into the woods.
Have you gotten back together with this guy yet or not?
No, I ordered a pizza today, and there was some other guy that came down.
So
But
you have to
anyways,
order pizzas to talk to this guy?
whatever. And he told me that in a section of Quebec called I forget, La Beauce or something, which is close to Maine, that there was a lot of Canadian volunteers who went and fight at Gettysburg.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's true or not. I just thought that would be interesting.
I don't have any. I've done I've played enough Gettysburg games that I'm reasonably familiar with the order of battle, and I'm going to tell you there's no like 3rd Canadian Volunteer Regiment, but that's not to say there wasn't anybody either.
Maybe it was 2-3 guys.
That might have been. I don't know.
I'll make sure Claude adds them to meat attacks. We'll put some kind of Canadian flag on there. And
hey, look, I'm sure we were
you
there.
Put somehow. That in the hypothetical. Canadians at Gettysburg. They're like the elves showing up at Helm's Deep.
The what if variant.
Yes.
Herman, we got a question for you.
You turned. Damn it, Dan!
Will you stop it?
I turned the comment on because I want to see it. Dan hits it at the same time and it goes away.
That's a good question, John. Thank you.
I hope that you have an entire team working on these games because I would like to buy them all.
Well, so what happened was, I did the first 3, right? Stonewall Sword, Thunder in the Ozarks, and Longstreet Attacks. Then, of course, there are demands for more, and I can't get to them all. I can't get to them all. So, other designers offered to start designing, and I, of course, said yes. And Roger said yes, of course. And, we've got tons of guys now coming in, and I mean, Claude's designed 2, I believe. Matt Ward's designed the Bull Run game. We've got guys doing South Mountain coming up, et cetera, et cetera. So to answer your question, it's kind of on autopilot now. Like it's basically Revolution's series. I'm supposed to do one on Stones River. Will probably be out next year at some point.
Calling it by its proper name too, I see.
Murfreesboro.
Or Murfreesboro. Tennessee people might get sensitive about that, but
and yeah, I mean, so to kind of go back to what Artie was asking me a while ago is, yeah, the Blind Swords has kind of evolved, and that is my fault. I can't leave anything alone. I'm always tinkering and playing with systems. So yeah, it has evolved quite a bit. More towards trying to get it more streamlined, which sounds kind of ironic considering the biggest game related to Blind Swords is the one I just finished, The Most Fearful Sacrifice. But the system-wise is actually less crunchy than Blind Swords, which is a regimental scale game. And yeah, I can't leave anything alone. I keep futzing with stuff. Oh, all right. Well,
there you go.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
There you go.
Right.
Canadian Civil War reenactors.
Hey,
It's interesting, I think, that
we're neighbors, for God's sake.
Well, yeah, that's true. This stuff, you could just go on and drive down to Gettysburg this weekend if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
It's all.
No,
all
I
it's
got
going to
my
cost
hand
is
hurts.
a tank of gas. Well,
That's right. He's disabled. He can't drive.
No.
Right.
Plus, they got to remove my stitches tomorrow. That's going to hurt a lot.
Oh no! Oh no! Did you already record No Enemies Here? What's today?
I know,
about it tomorrow.
For God's sake. I'm a trooper. Even though I was dying and hurting, I still put out the bloody show.
Well, you are a trooper.
Damn right I am.
Your heroic sacrifice is appreciated by the wargaming community.
Thank you. Thank you. Herman.
Yeah.
I bet you're working twice as hard now since you're retired.
That is absolutely true.
Hey, people that don't stay busy when they retire end up dead in a year. So
I don't get weekends off now. That's the whole thing. Now I'm working every day. But it's good work. I mean, I think one of the
hell is that?
As you may or may not know, one of the secrets to retirement is keeping busy, right? Keeping
yeah, well,
your brain working and all that. So I mean, it's helped in that sense. But I play other stuff too. I'm doing a little bit of everything. Actually, Artie, I know you're into RPGs and all that, and for me, RPGs are kind of like miniatures in that you have to find a dedicated group who's going to do it with you.
This is true,
right? So you don't want to just paint up, a French Napoleonic army by yourself and go around. Hey, And I think I feel that way with RPGs. Like if I had a group of guys who would do it, say, all right, we're going to do it, then I'd be in, right? So do you have a dedicated group or?
I do not at this time.
Yeah, you don't.
And I haven't done a regular RPG thing in ages. I mean, there were a couple of aborted attempts. I started a Traveler game, and then like literally the following week, COVID hit. So that went away.
I know solo RPGing is becoming more. There seems to be
it is a thing, yeah. And in some cases, those can be interesting, but something like a lot of solo RPGs are essentially writing prompts. Right? Whereas you got 1,000-Year-Old Vampire, for example, which is basically an elaborate mechanism for creating writing prompts about your 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. And it's quite neat, but recognize it for what it is. It's not really itching the same itch as D&D, right?
Right.
So
I scratched that itch a little bit. I don't know if you've ever heard of this thing. This is Iron Helm. And this is by Grey Gnome Games. Game Crafters actually makes this. This comes in a rather small box, but it is. I got it set up now. It's a fascinating little card solo RPG / dungeon crawl thing. That's
interesting.
Is one of the more clever designs I've seen. This guy manages to create this really entertaining variable game in these tiny packages. If you get a chance, check it out. It's really cool.
Herman,
sorry, that was a little sideshow. I wanted to tell Gary that. So
yeah, I still have to get 4 Against Darkness. First of all, I have to find it because I've unpacked very little RPG stuff right now. So
I've heard good things about that too.
Yeah, there we go. So yeah, Mike Anthony, make sure we stay in contact about this because one or both of those things could happen.
Oh, Harn is that the Columbia Games?
It is, yes. And I believe there's a Kickstarter open for that either right now or very soon as well. But that's been around since the early 80s.
I had a lot of their Wizard Quest, was it?
Wizard Kings.
Wizard Kings. I had a lot of that stuff.
Which is actually the system that Victory came out of. I think Wizard Kings was first. And then they did the original Victory, which I played at a Gen Con or Origins years ago, and it was just kind of like this generic World War II game on a fictional map. It's like,
I think I played that. Yeah,
the system's kind of neat, but man, I got no interest in this fictional map at all. But then they did it as like Pacific Victory, and it's kind of the whole thing, and that's actually kind of neat.
What about that?
It looks neat anyway.
What about that RPG game, Avalon Hill? That very strange painting. It's pink box.
Okay, Avalon Hill did 4 RPGs, depending on how you count them. They did a Rune Quest, which was co-done with Chaosium. They did Powers and Perils, which is a gray box, and which I'm actually a bit nostalgic about because I ran it back in the day. Boy, that was an experience I will not choose to repeat. They did Lords of Creation, which was a Tom Moldvay project. Tom Moldvay, native of Akron, Ohio. In fact, there's an adventure for it called Omegacron, set in post-apocalyptic Akron, which is indistinguishable from 2022 Akron, as far as I can tell. And they did Tales from the Floating Vagabond, which was kind of like a Callahan's Crosshead Salute thing. And then if we were counting Victory games, which we should, we got the James Bond RPG as well. So
did he go get his pizza?
Maybe or the game that he has hidden in another room somewhere. He just does this. He just wanders off sometimes, wanders back.
That's the great thing about having Dan on these shows. You just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's unpredictable spontaneity. This is how the conversation devolves to hookers and coke all the time.
Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, we're on the hookers and coke topic. What do you got to show?
Is it a game or a pizza?
No, I got the game. This I'm talking about.
That is not an RPG.
Okay.
However,
Tomato,
that's a great game.
Nothing.
It's one of those Avalon Hill games that really takes longer to play than it ought to, but it's a great game. It's got terrific David Trampier art. Trampier was one of the old TSR artists that did the iconic Player's Handbook cover, for example. Like left the hobby completely and went off to be a taxi driver in some podunk town in Indiana. And was only found near the end of his life, and he was dying of cancer by then. So great artist. Every one of the counters is unique. You'll look like there's like 12 troll counters. They all have unique pictures on them.
Oh, that's nice. Nice.
There was redone by somebody. I forget who. It wasn't Phalanx. I'm thinking of Phalanx. I think it was Valley Games, and they did it. It didn't have the Trampier art, so I still have the old one. I still have the old one. I'm never getting rid of that. It's a great. I haven't played it in 15 years.
So Artie, is it worth playing this game, or is it?
Yeah,
just
it's terrific. It's multiplayer though. I mean, you really want at least 4 and preferably 6 players.
Okay.
That was super popular back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and make sure you set aside about 8 hours to play it, because that's about how long it'll take. No, so there is a version of Titan that was produced basically in a pizza box by the original designers, one of whom was Trampier. Blood to Your Bellion's a different thing. That's from GDW. So, but it's a terrific game. There we go. Hookers blowing pizza.
I'm
surprised you haven't suggested that to me already, Dan.
Don't knock it.
Don't threaten Dan with a good time.
If it wasn't for Carl Kreider, the hookers and blow thing never would have came up.
So let me ask this question. Let me reformat Nathan's question here, because we already have a Blind Swords game in the Franco-Prussian War, right?
Yes, actually, that was the first actual Blind Swords game. Is Duel of Eagles by White Dog Games.
Okay, so what other eras is there anything in the pipeline to extend the series to other eras?
There's nothing in the pipeline right now. We've had tons of suggestions.
Many of them tonight.
Yes. I'm working on a game on the Battle of Königsgrätz for White Dog Games right now, but that's a brand new system. But it's all those kinds of games are slightly influenced by Blind Swords. It's called By Iron and Blood, and people who know what Königsgrätz is, that was the big battle of the Austro-Prussian War. Not a lot of games on that battle either. I think there's about 3. So that's actually very exciting. So to parlay with the Ancients and the Napoleonics, the only reason I don't do Ancients is I'm just not into Ancients that much. So, and I know nothing about. Somebody else would have to do that, honestly. Ironically, Napoleonics, I was a huge Napoleonics miniatures player back in the 90s. I mean, thousands of castings. And we played every system out there, which is typical for miniatures gamers. They go through every single rule system possible.
Yeah, because you don't have to paint new miniatures. You just play with the same miniatures.
And then you end up designing your own house rules, house set of rules anyway. Again, it's kind of weird. I've never done a Napoleonic game, despite all my interest in the Napoleonic Wars. Believe it or not, Brant, Mark Walker and I have talked about something like that. I was originally how I got to know Mark in the first place was I was a huge World at War fan. His original version with Lock and Load. And I actually went up to him at WBC when I was working for Victory Point Games, and I just went, hi, Mr. Walker, I'm a big fan of your games, and he laughs about that now. And so we've always talked about, he's really into modern warfare, obviously, and we talked about taking Blind Swords' idea of historical chaos, or in this case, theoretical chaos, and adding it to a modern game. The Napoleonic thing. So the problem with doing Napoleonics, I have some ideas on that front. The problem is Napoleonics is so based in formations, right? Square, line, column. It's really constant. So you'd have to almost do a tactical system to really get that Napoleonic flavor and not just make it feel like anything else. So I'm working on a game. I'm actually starting with the Battle of Leipzig, believe it or not, but that's one of my favorite battles. Thank you, Mo.
Well, why not start small?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my mother was born there. It's one of my favorite. Napoleon at Leipzig is probably one of my favorite big war games, because I could get 3 other people to play with me, right? Or actually maybe even 4 sometimes. It works well multiplayer, so it was a great, and Napoleon's Last Battles is another one that I used at college. Napoleon's Last Battle was always set up at college, and I would teach all the anybody who was interested. That was the system, and that was the game that I used to teach. And so I have a certain love for Leipzig in particular. So the problem, like I said, so the Napoleonic thing is you got to be careful with that, because it's got to have that tactical feel, even though you don't necessarily have to get down to regiments and all that. Still, that element's got to be there somehow to extract that Napoleonic theme out of it. So that's a little tough to design, but I got some ideas in that front.
Herman, since you're an RPG player, you're an Euro player, you're a war game maker, player,
Renaissance
designer.
man.
Absolutely. What about have you not ever been interested in doing either a solo RPG type game, like for God's sakes, Ted Racer just put one out.
Are we talking about I, Napoleon, that's coming out from Ted?
Yeah, something like that. What's the other one from Canvas Publishing there? Come on, for God's sake.
Honor?
Huh?
I was going to say, it's got to be Legion of Honor.
Yeah, Legion of Honor.
That's from Clash of Arms.
Yeah, you're not interested in doing something like that, Herman? Make it about a Bersaglieri.
So I think I brought this up, I don't know, some podcast a couple of weeks ago. I don't know, but I think actually with Jester on his show. I'm not a good writer of stories, so I cannot put out this voluminous work of connected stories and thousands of words and all this. But so, for example, Dawn of the Zeds, the big compliment I get for that, it's got a great narrative, it tells a story.
Yes.
But I don't tell the story for the players, right? The players create their own story. I just give them the elements of a zombie movie or a zombie novel or a zombie comic book or whatever, and they create their own story as they play the game. I don't have the story preset. So as far as in like an RPG, I don't know if I'm really well equipped to do that. I can't come up with a Traveler type of world with all the details that it requires. I might be able to do something like a Zeds type of thing where, I give you bits and pieces and you fill in the details, right? Right. Yes, we did.
Nepotism,
So, I mean, basically, that's the whole theory behind Blind Swords. So the reason I did Blind Swords to start with was, and I was just talking about this past weekend with my friend Harvey and with Mark. The idea was my work. I did a lot of reading of military history, and the military history the games weren't reflecting what I was reading in my military history books. Unexplained things happen all the time in real military history, right? And a lot of that stuff, and Mars Latour was particularly interesting to me because you're talking about a situation where there was one Prussian cavalry division facing the entire French army, right? So how do you translate that historical situation into a game? So that's all started my wheels turning with this historical chaos idea of allowing that to happen in a game. And, as the system developed, things will happen in the Blind Swords game where I give you those elements, like I do in Dawn of the Zeds. I give you those elements of things that happened, and the player fills in the narrative behind it. But it has to be historically based. You can't just have like aliens show up and fill in that narrative. It's all Civil War historical chaos, things that could happen in a Civil War battle. So as you're playing the game, these things happen. You go, oh, I see what happened. My unit attacked. You got horrific casualties, but the defender thought he was being outflanked, so he fell back with light casualties, whatever, right? So you can fill in all that detail.
I mean, that's what, you know, what war games are supposed to do, right? They provide you with this mechanical structure, and then you, to whatever extent the game is intended to do this, you extract narrative from the interplay of those mechanics, right? This is how a very straightforward procedural game like B-17 Queen of the Skies, you know, just kind of generates this spontaneous narrative from the mechanics. That's not written by the designer in any sense. It's the mechanics are designed to produce or allow that narrative to emerge. And that, of course, is true of, you know, even something like OCS, right? I mean, you know, we get narrative out of OCS with the thrust and counter thrust of the different armies, and, you know, such and such. Soviet 6th Army got pocketed, and this kind, you know, this and that kind of thing. Right.
But to take it extended a little bit further, so you can read tons of military history, and you'll hear this story about a regiment that fired on its own guys, right? For example, that doesn't happen in traditional war games. A unit abandoning a very safe, very important position because they thought something was happening. Units doing suicidal attacks, right? All these things that would not happen in a war game normally, you know, a traditional war game. So I tried to, insert those elements so that it felt more like real history, I guess. So, and the player has to deal with this. See, that's the other thing that, you know, I know some people get frustrated with blind swords because things are happening that they can't control. But again, I'm trying to show that, you know, these commanders had to deal with this stuff. I believe it was Moltke that said, after the initial deployments and orders are given, a commander has no more control of what happens in the battlefield other than the insertion of reserves. That's it. After that, these guys are out going, and they're hopefully following their orders.
Now, Herman, you said friendly fire there. It doesn't happen in other. Does it happen in like Most Fearful Sacrifice?
Well, see, those seemingly random elements that happen, right, are used to represent that. Or, you know, the way I build the tables, some bizarre outcomes can come out of that, and that's also used to. I mean, I don't specifically have a friendly fire event, all right, but some of the other elements that are built into the game can create that, where a unit might withdraw for no particular reason.
But having that, like that event, friendly fire event, is that problematic, or is it morally not acceptable type thing?
That's going to be dependent on the game, right? I mean, you're obviously friendly fire is an important thing. Just ask Stonewall Jackson, but but that may not be important, you know, and for the people, right? You're not going to have friendly fire as an event.
I was just going to say it depends on the scale you're talking about.
Yeah, that's kind of an extreme example, but you know, it even in like a regimental battle, I'm not sure friendly fire is going to be a significant enough factor to get a mechanic, right?
Okay, I got
But you certainly might have situations where you have like a reciprocal fire mechanic, and you can infer friendly fire from that.
What you don't want to do though is go through this, you know, create a chart with 800 results that get that down deep, you know.
That's you know, that's an ASL thing, right? But oddly enough, I don't know that I guess I'm not sure that it doesn't, but oddly enough, I think even ASL does not have a special mechanic for friendly fire. And I can assure you that was a factor in World War II.
Oh, well, absolutely. Yeah.
So just ask the paratroopers that dropped in July of 1943 on Sicily.
Right. I mean, you know, the more reading you do, the more you realize that battle is chaos. You know, these guys are scared. You know, one of the interesting talks that my friend Fred went to, is one of my developers for many years, by John Priest at Gettysburg. He says people don't realize today how much smoke is emitted during the course of an ACW battle, so that by the afternoon of Gettysburg, the entire battlefield is covered in smoke, debris, screaming horses running all over the place, right? Fires, the whole thing. What a wargamer sees at 3 p.m. on their Gettysburg map is nothing compared to what it was actually happening. You know, nobody knows what's going on. You know, generals are dead, officers are dead. Nobody knows where the enemy is. It's actually a lot more confusing than traditional war gamers give it credit for. And that's again what I'm trying to inject in there is this. You're thinking on your feet, basically, reacting to the situation as it develops. All plans go to hell after the first couple of turns.
Herman, is there a mechanic like that in a Most Fearful Sacrifice? As the battle progresses, more smoke and less line of sight, and
there's
fog of war for God's sake, you know.
Well, in the traditional blind swords games, there's another Fortunes of War shit that might come in that creates more confusion. And in a Most Fearful Sacrifice, there's another card that comes in at a certain point of the day to create more confusion. So yeah.
Okay. Wow. I can't wait to play it, man. I can't wait to play it. I can't wait.
Wait a minute. How long have you had it?
It's still in shrink, man.
He hasn't even opened it yet.
No, I don't want to.
He's waiting for the resale price to go up.
Yeah, I don't want to sell.
Now might be the time if the second printing.
Yeah, before the second printing, you better get rid of it. Absolutely.
Yep. Dump it. $500. I bet you're going to get at least $500 for it. That's Canadian dollars, of course.
I have it propped up, because I think it's just a beautiful box, and it fell, and the corner was dented, and I thought, no.
It's interesting about the box cover. So I got the title. Well, it says inside of the rule book. I got a title from a quote from Hood. And, Mark and I were looking, well, what are we going to put on the cover? And we found this one painting that was Hood's Texans at Gettysburg. That's the cover. And he actually contacted the artist and got the rights to put that on the box cover. We bought the rights to it. That's an actual painting. Yeah.
Is that Stonewall Jackson on the cover?
No, that's he's Hood. Dead by then, Dan.
He's
okay,
dead.
Look, I'm Canadian. I'm sorry.
Yes, in the what if scenario, yes, that's Stonewall Jackson. Yeah, that's Hood on the cover. And that's the Texas Brigade on the cover as well.
Should I unshrink it right now, live?
Oh,
go ahead. Go ahead. It deserves to be played. So I'm not an advocate of. I mean, it's your game. Do what you want with it. But I'm not an advocate of just buying it to let stuff sit on the shelf.
Hey, don't make me feel bad, okay?
I'm just saying, games are meant to be played.
Don't let us peer pressure you into doing it. If you don't want it, it's fine.
Okay, I'm doing it.
Actually, we could let the chat vote on it, and I suspect I know what the vote's going to be.
Oh yeah, it's totally going to be do it. So
okay, I'm doing it.
Do it if you want.
This is very exciting. This is really exciting.
I can't. I got no fingernails. My hand hurts.
Oh no! He's only got one arm. Oh no!
I can't do it. My hand hurts.
Boy, Chantel must be having a hard time with you in the house. Let me tell you.
She's not even home.
That's
how do you survive without her being home?
I don't know. I only got a couple of minutes left.
He's been living on microwave burritos for months.
Yeah, and you know what,
John? He's starving to death.
I want to open it exactly for that. The first thing, it's just to look at the map, and because I just love Barber maps, man. I really, really love Barber maps.
Well, it's interesting. So I've worked with Rick Barber for a long time, all the way back to my very first design, Gettysburg, the wheat field, back in the Victory Point games days. And yeah, I mean, I don't want to say he's been controversial, because he hasn't been controversial, but I mean, there's some people, it's a love-hate type of thing, right? I mean, most people love his work. There's a few that hate it for whatever reason.
How can you hate it?
There is he had a signature style.
Yeah.
That maybe didn't connect with some people.
Right. Some people have just a hard time translating that artwork into a game map. Okay.
Some people have a hard time connecting with Mozart.
Some people love, weird stuff. What can I say?
So actually, Mark and I talked about, and it's funny because I have heard that criticism about Barber's work, and then when Mark said, let's do a big map, and I said, oh, that's perfect, because I think what Rick's work really needs are these gigantic hexes so that it can just blow out, right? And you can see all that detail, and it doesn't affect the gameplay.
Yeah, it's a beautiful map.
Yeah,
and it really does make a difference to have it blown up to that enormous size, I think.
This is very entertaining. Everybody's commenting on what Dan's doing. This is great.
So I actually see why I see why people get this impression, but I don't really agree with it. It's the sort of calligraphic.
Artie, stop being hardcore, for God's sakes. Come on.
Yeah, you know, it's weird. I've seen Rick's maps used in more modern games. He has what is it? Belleau Wood, I think, right? For Worthington, I think it's Belleau Wood.
That's interesting. I'd be curious to see that.
Well, hold on. You mean the Worthington one?
I'm not sure if it's. Oh no, it's Devil Dogs. That's what the name of it. It's Devil Dogs. Teufelhunde, as the Germans call them. And it's obviously a Rick Barber map, but for some reason, and maybe it's just my prejudices, it doesn't seem to translate to a World War I battle. It's really weird, right?
So there's a couple of
oh, there you go.
Barber World War II maps.
It's a Barber map.
Absolutely unique. From Clash of Arms, if I'm not mistaken, the summer. It's the same series that Edelweiss is a part of. The Winter Storm or Summer Storm or something like that. I think Summer Storm was his Gettysburg game, actually, but
it was. Yeah.
Are we opening this or not, Dan?
What? Oh,
are you opening Devil Dog? Is that sealed too?
No. Oh, you want to see the map?
I think this is. Isn't
the only games that aren't sealed are the ones that were stolen from the library of Carl Parody.
Isn't that a John Paniski design?
John and his son.
Okay. It's supposed to be a very interesting design. It's very different. So, yeah, Rick's it's obviously a Rick Barber map. It just feels weird being on a World War I battle. I guess, again, that's just because historically he's always done Civil War maps. Or maybe because it looks too beautiful to be a World War I battlefield. Maybe that's what it is. World War I battlefield is supposed to be all muddy and shell cratered and.
You know, man, I'm so happy I have these games because I got my son-in-law who's gonna play them with me.
Is he?
Yeah.
How old's your son-in-law?
He's 22.
Oh dear.
Why?
No, I would start him off with.
We already started with David Thompson's Undaunted Normandy.
Undaunted.
Yeah, and it's we get it, this and that, but we're gonna play a few more scenarios because it's not that difficult of a game to get a handle of.
Yeah,
and
Memoir 44 might be a better next step. But
which one?
Memoir 44.
Nah, I would rather do Napoleonics.
Okay. I like the Napoleonics one better too.
I'm talking about that Commanding Colors.
Yeah, it's
it's
a little bit more complicated than Memoir, but not by much.
Yeah.
This is an example of the Rick Barber style that I'm talking about. This is Edelweiss from Clash of Arms.
No, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's a really good looking map too.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that's Rick at first view.
Yeah, but then you look at it and I'm like, yeah, it totally is.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that was his loss. All I can say is I'm so happy, at least for his spirit, that he got this game done, because his real love was the Gettysburg battlefield, and he basically produced the ultimate Gettysburg map, right?
I mean, it really is the ultimate Gettysburg map, I think.
Mo is suggesting Battle Cry.
Yes.
Battle Cry is the Civil War commands and colors.
Yeah. I like Battle Cry.
Is it still
I've never played Battle
available?
Cry, actually. I don't need to.
Is it still available?
No. It was reprinted by somebody
it's reprinted
too long ago, though.
I'm pretty sure you can get a new edition of it somewhere. Yeah.
Maybe that's possible. I'm not aware of it, but I assume it's coming out of Hasbro, right? So
Hasbro.
Yeah, Hasbro.
The devil itself.
Yeah.
Herm, why don't you get into Hasbro? Make mucho buckos.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
Really?
You got it. You should see what some of these Eurogame guys are doing. I mean, guys you've never heard of are making, tens of thousands of dollars on these other games. Never mind Hasbro. I mean, I'm talking about like Asmodee and the rest of these guys. Simon, They're making tons of money.
Asmodee is making great money because they fired all the people. They're just they're just collecting the money now.
Yeah.
Herman, are you buddies with Alan Moon?
No.
Hmm.
I thought he was great. Great when he was with the Who.
Yes, that horse tranquilizer did him in.
You know, this is a serious show. You know what I mean?
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We got you on.
Oh, very, very much so. Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. We're definitely a very serious, sober show here.
Well, Herman wouldn't have came on if it was, you know, the Rick and Morty show, whatever.
So, yeah, the last printing of Battle Cry, as far as I could tell, was in 2010. So, I mean,
really,
best of luck. Yeah.
Wow.
No, I mean, it was Hasbro, so you know, who knows? They might have printed 50,000 copies of it, but I would assume it goes for a decent change. I would check the BGG marketplace, but that's going away. So, but it is going for crappy
I just sold the game today on the BGG marketplace, and I probably will be my last game I could sell that way.
You know, I guess they don't feel that they can run a proper marketplace, so they've decided to just dump the whole thing.
Yep.
Which is unfortunate, to be honest, because I bought a lot of games on the BGG marketplace.
So they're shutting it down. It's over.
Yeah, in a matter of couple weeks.
September 1st, I believe.
Yeah.
What? Do they get a cut?
Yes, they do. I mean, I'm speculating here. I don't know, but I'm speculating that possibly they feel that they weren't monetizing it to the extent that they could.
I think it was 3%. Now they were going to redo with the marketplace and charge 6%, I think, if I remember.
Yes, but then they're dumping that too. They gave up.
They're dumping the reboot.
Yeah, they're dumping the new marketplace and the old marketplace at the same time.
Oh boy, I wonder why they're doing that.
I mean,
well, there's pushback on it, so maybe they'll back down. I don't know.
What's happening with BGG? Is it all about money now, man?
It's been all about money for some time. It is a profit-generating enterprise. So
it seems to have lost its way the last couple of years, I think, from being a hobby place to now like you say, a business place or whatever.
Yeah, and I'm not going to begrudge anybody that, but you know, it does. You know, every big website's got issues, right? I mean, if you go to RPGNet, it's this, you know, maybe different issues, but that place is loaded with issues too. So, you know, you've got tens of thousands of people showing up at your website every day. You're going to have problems resulting just from that. So I'm not going to begrudge anybody, you know, it's evolution, but you know, I maybe get less utility out. I still get a lot of utility out of BGG, to be honest. If nothing else, it's a great place to keep track of your stuff.
Right.
That feature by itself is super useful.
Mm-hmm.
The ability to say, hey, you know, I wonder what the Rick Barber map for Edelweiss looks like. Well, there's a picture of it on there.
Right.
It's not a great picture, but it's a picture. You get at least an idea.
Right. And for me as a designer, you know, people being able to gather in one place and ask any questions they want to ask, or for me to upload files of errata or whatever, right?
Yeah, people making gizmos for such and such a game, you can get a sense of that too. That doesn't happen a lot in the wargaming space, but every once in a while it does.
Yeah, the 3D printing thing has become a big thing, and some guy did a storage solution for Most Fearful Sacrifice that was fascinating. It was the trays where you could actually pile up every core in these slots. It was beautiful.
Why don't you show it to Mark? Maybe Mark will incorporate it in the game. Give that guy a couple of bucks.
Yeah, well.
The only way to make that work is to sell the files. There's no way to make 3D printing economical at like a mass level, right? It's way cheaper to get them injection molded or whatever. Well,
look, our time is up, and Herman,
already?
Congratulations on the second printing of that
Dan
game.
has to get to bed.
Can you give me a break?
No.
And congratulations on the second printing, and I'm sure there's going to probably be a third printing of this bloody game. But why doesn't Mark? Is he going to print more copies now, or is he just going to print the same amount of copies?
I don't know. You'd have to ask him that. I'm not sure. I know that when he ordered the first batch, he actually ordered a couple extra 100 because he had a feeling it was going to be big. So I don't know what he's going to do with the second batch. I mean, it's a big commitment, but I mean, thankfully, and thank you to everybody for their support. I mean, it's been well reviewed, and look, it hasn't been without its problem. I mean, there's errata that has to be fixed, and that is, I mean, you know, Gary, I know you know. I mean, getting these games play tested with 13 scenarios by 4 guys is really hard.
Challenging, very challenging.
Yeah,
Bigger games are harder to play test too.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of, you know, I ask people to please understand, you know, when you design these war games, designing them is one thing. Playtesting them and developing is a totally different thing. And that requires so many hours to get right. And you still can't, especially like with a 3-day campaign. How do you play that enough times to get every situation that could come up resolved? So thankfully, yes, Jester.
Getting out the pitchforks.
Right. So, you know, when the public has it and they can play it hundreds of times, then you get those questions coming back and the feedback, and you go, oh, all right, we didn't think of that, or I missed that, or whatever. And that, I mean, it's really valuable. And I never begrudge anybody asking me the simplest question, the most complicated. I don't care. Just send me my questions. We'll get it figured out. And if it's an error, we'll fix it.
You know, it's for coming from software development, you never can exhaustively eliminate all errors, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are errors that simply aren't found, no matter how exhaustive you're testing. There will be errors that simply are not found until it hits the public.
That's what Herman said about rule books. You'll have errors no matter what.
Yeah. Well, now I mean, there's a line, right, where if the game is printed and it's ships to people and it's busted, then that's different. But right. But you know, small problems are going to come up. It's just going to happen.
I can tell you from personal experience, I've reviewed counter sheets, for example, 12 times, and something gets through.
Yes, I'm going to highlight the question now, since he's asking Herman and not Mark, who's not here. So,
well, I can tell you that I have a sci-fi war game that is a cooperative war game, science fiction war game with a publisher that I'm not allowed to disclose at this time. But it is a crunchy, real war game, sci-fi, but multiplayer. So each player controls a company. You can have 3 companies on the board at the same time, fighting the same aliens. But I can't. They asked me not to say anything. So
sounds like big man territory.
Herman, who did you say the publisher was?
I can't. I can tell you they're not American. That I can tell you.
Oh.
So it's probably not a new version of Starship Troopers, then, is what we're saying.
No, I almost bought the PC version of Starship Troopers that's up on Steam though, because that looked really cool. So I'm gonna
that's based on the movie though, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah,
yeah, I would think so.
Yeah,
I like that movie.
A little less into that, but I like the movie too. But take it for what it is.
Yeah. Denise Richardson looks good in white.
Okay.
Hey,
yeah. So
Herman,
more stuff coming.
Herman, awesome. Stick around. I'm gonna say bye-bye.
Right.
Artie, I don't know what the hell.
Everybody, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week at my place.